Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dive Deeper into Agentforce for Developers. First, our forward-looking statement. I'm sure you've seen this before, but remember all the rules. Nice to meet you. My name is Gordon Bacchus. I'm a software engineer working on the developer experience team, primarily on Agentforce for Developers the last couple of years.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sukanim Nahal. I'm a product marketing manager on our Salesforce AI research team.
OK, so we've only got 20 minutes today. We're going to jump right into it. This is an overview of what we have available today in Agentforce for Developers. It's our AI-specific tooling that's a VS Code extension that pairs with all of our existing Salesforce extension pack. Today, the features that are specific to Agentforce for Developers are our Dev Assistant, which is our multi-turn chat interface, our Code Autocomplete, which is our most used feature. As you're editing Apex or LWC code, we'll automatically be giving you suggestions in a timely manner where they're useful. We had Apex test case generation, which recently got a facelift. Previously, you would interact in the Apex editor to generate tests, and now we have a specific test panel for both Apex and LWC test case generation. And finally, in Dev Preview, we have LWC optimization. LWC optimization is a new feature that allows us to specify agents for uplifting or optimizing LWC components. And we're going to demo all these very shortly. So even with all these new features coming, we have continued to invest in Agentforce for Developers. We spent a lot of time thinking about and trying to improve inline auto completions. We've done work with caching to ensure that once you see a completion, you can get back to it and you can interact with it. Because often as we're working in the editor, you know, the code's changing, things are happening fast, and sometimes you'll see a completion, maybe not think you want it, but then you do. So we spent a lot of time trying to make that a better experience for you. We have improved LWC support. Our first version of A4D was focused around Apex, but we've continued to iterate on that, improve our LLM's ability to answer LWC questions, as well as fully integrate with all the features for LWCs. And finally, we have our retrieval augmented generation support. So we previously had schema support, and we added Apex support recently. This is essentially the technology where while you're working in the editor in the background, we're paying attention to what schema files you have specific to your project, what Apex classes are unique to you, and any requests that get sent to the LLM are automatically updated with things that we think are related to the questions that you're asking. All right, so introducing Agents panel. This is a brand new panel that you'll find in your VS Code sidebar. This is where we will find our Apex and LWC test case generation, as well as the optimization that I mentioned previously. I will call out that since optimization is in Dev Preview, you'll need to set a new setting in your VS Code settings in order to turn it on. And just understand that we're still working through some of the issues there, so we'd love for our developers to try it out and give us some feedback, but it is a work in progress. All right, before we get to the demo, what makes Agentforce for Developers great? There are three main things that I wanted to talk about. One is a connected user experience. We spend a lot of time working with our user experience experts at Salesforce to ensure that the AI tooling that you're using in VS Code is kind of injected in just the right place to not get in your way as a developer, but to provide value and make sure that it's there when you need it. Our large language model, this is the machine that's behind all the magic. So our AI research team continues to train constantly and to improve our generations using our LLMs. And finally, I wanted to bring up context. So context is where you, the user, get involved. Context is the secret sauce that makes AI tooling successful. Because LLMs, they know a lot about basic Salesforce development. They know the rules. They know how things should look. But they don't know anything about your specific org. So in order to address that, we have RAG, which I previously discussed, where we automatically try to figure out what's related. We have user context. So user context is several different things in the editor. It's the files that you have open. It's the files that you've recently opened. It's the active editor is actually the most important user context for all of these features. It tells the extension exactly what you're working on right now. And also, you have the ability, if you know that there's some code that it should know about, you can always paste that into our chat interface or include it so that it can be included in these generations. And finally, surrounding code around the cursor. This is more specific to the inline autocomplete case, but that's like the primary thing that it's considering whenever it's making generations for you. All right, let's jump into the demo. Quick. So for the demo today, I have VS Code running. I have our expanded pack installed with the latest version of Agentforce for Developers. I have been tasked with creating a brand new hero summary component. That's all I was told, so I just made it up. You can see here that I already have it. This is our e-bikes open source project. I created a new LWC component called hero summary using our LWC tooling. And in here, I just created a very fundamental LWC component. So there's our JavaScript controller. You'll note that there's a to-do comment down here to add a new method for adding an array of related heroes. Seems like something you'd have in a summary component. And then I have my template, where I also added a to-do to update the template to support that related heroes data. And then my CSS is pretty simple. It's just the font size for the header that I have in the controller, or in the template, sorry. All right. So I have my very simple LWC component. The first thing that I'm going to need to do is generate the supporting Apex method for supplying that data. I know that the product controller is driving my other hero component, so I'm going to add a new method in here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my cursor down at the bottom of the product controller and navigate to my Dev Assistant. So as I mentioned previously, Dev Assistant is our multi-turn chat support. So basically, multi-turn means that I can ask a question, it'll give me a response, and I can continue to ask questions to fine-tune that response. I have a prompt here called create a method to supply the data for the hero summary LWC component. Since I already just opened all those files around the hero summary, it has some context around those, and it also has this product controller. So let's let Dev Assistant do its work. All right, we can see that it responded with a new method and also gave me a full explanation of why it's doing what it's doing. My job, number one job working with AI tooling as a developer is to be a code reviewer for all things AI. So I need to review this, make sure it kind of makes sense. It seems pretty sensical. I'm going to go ahead and inject it into my file using this button. I could also copy here and paste wherever I would like in my file. So now I have a very simple method to supply the data to my LWC component. The next thing I should do is write a unit test to make sure that that's working as I expect. So from here, I can either use the context menu to say generate an Apex test. I can use the beaker icon in our toolbar here, or I can navigate directly to our agents view. So I'm going to go ahead and generate an Apex test. You can see that this opens our new agents panel. So from here, in the test case generation portion, Apex has been selected, my product controller has been selected. Integrating with our Apex LSP, I can see what methods are available, and I see my new get hero product method. And then from here, I'm able to select a test where I would like to inject the new unit test. While this is running, I'll call out that if you don't currently have a test file for that Apex controller, or we're not able to identify one, it will offer to create a new file for you. And it will use our existing extension interfaces to generate a file that can readily be deployed to your org. All right, so after the agent test case generation is completed, we see the new file here. By clicking it, it opens a diff view into VS Code that looks very similar to what you would see whenever you're doing like git diffs and things like that. So this should be a very common interface for you. I can see that a new unit test was added to my test suite. It's a pretty simple test, but it pretty much covers my pretty simple method. So in order to accept this, I can either click this checkbox, or I can click the accept button. And once I click accept, it has now been injected into my source code. So until I accept the changes, no changes are made to my local Salesforce project. All right, so I now have my new Apex controller. I have my LWC component. I think the next thing I should do is generate an LWC test for my new component. So following the same pattern, I selected LWC, select hero summary, and ask it to generate. So both the LWC test case generation and the optimize use a new technique here at Salesforce, or at least for our DX Salesforce tooling, where we make multiple LLM calls to accomplish a task. So sometimes they can take a little longer to run, but the responses should be better. So now we can see that this test finished. We'll note that this is a brand new test. There was no existing code. I just need to review it, make sure it seems reasonable. Looks reasonable. I can see it checking the associated properties in my LWC component. It's verifying that the snapshot matches. This looks good. I'm going to accept it. So the next thing I want to demo for you is our Optimize panel. So Optimize, as I called out previously, is a list of agents that we can run against LWC components. The two agents we have today are our accessibility component and our to-do inline to-dos agent. The accessibility component will update your LWC to try and follow some of the top accessibility best practices, and the inline to-dos agent will find and try to implement any inline to-dos in your code. So after selecting Hero Summary, I'm going to click Generate. Since I selected both agents, this could take just a little bit to run, so while that's running, I'm going to step back over to my product controller because I'd like to call out some functionality with our inline autocomplete. I don't know if you caught it, but there was a little bit of sparkle whenever I dropped to the new line. That's whenever we know that our inline autocomplete is active. So the work that we've been doing here is to ensure that once I have a completion like this, previously as I navigated, you would see us making new requests every time. And so now we cache the completion until you break away and change what you're trying to implement, and then it'll go and gather a new completion. So we've done a lot of work to get better and better at that. I must have missed my optimize notification. I think it came through there. My optimize flow has finished. So you'll notice with optimize, we don't only get a single file change, we actually get new file changes across all of my LWC pieces in the component. So first things, let's take a look at our hero summary template. You can see here that previously I had a related heroes to do that was implemented in the template. And it also added a button to add a hero. Not sure where that came from, but it seems good enough for me to accept, and I can polish from there. In the hero summary.css, I can see that it changed me from using a token that had existed to a raw value. I don't think I want that, so I'm going to discard it. There shouldn't be any change to my metadata file. I'm going to delete that. And then finally, let's take a look at my handler. We can see here that it added the new related heroes property, and it also added a very simple method for handling add. That's not quite exactly what I would want, but it does get me close. So I'm going to go ahead and accept, and then I can continue to fine-tune it from there using both our inline autocomplete functionality as well as my dev assistant if I don't quite know where to go from here. All right. That's the end of our demo. I'm now going to hand it off for finding out more about our AI research team.
All right, thanks, Gordon, for the awesome demo. So what AI models are actually powering Agentforce for developers? So there's two types of two types of AI models. They're both built in-house. The first is CodeGen. So CodeGen powers features like inline autocomplete. Our second model that we have is XGen Code. It powers features like code generation, the test case generation, as you just saw, as well as Dev Assistant. So let's dive a little bit deeper into these models. So CodeGen. CodeGen is exactly what the name says. It's our code generating model. The fine-tuned version powers features like inline autocomplete, but it also powers features like code recommendations for Apex Guru, if you're familiar with that. So what makes this model really stand out is one, accuracy. The model is trained on Salesforce-specific data. That means that it's custom built for our use cases, so there's precision in our products. The second is that your code never leaves Salesforce. We do not train our models on your code. Your code is always within Salesforce, so you can have a trusted and secure experience. The third is sustainability. That's one of Salesforce's core values, and we really care about the fact that we are using the right size models for the right use cases to optimize efficiency while reducing our environmental footprint. We're actually proud to say that the open source version of CodeGen was one of the very first code generating models in the industry. So really proud that it comes from our team. But as we were kind of iterating on Agentforce for developers, we realized we needed a model that wasn't just good at code generating tasks, but also great at natural language tasks, as well as natural language outputs. So we introduced XGen Code last year with the arrival of Dev Assistant. So XGen Code, the model is great for deeper understanding use cases, multi-turn responses, and dynamic conversations, such as like a chat feature that evolves based on user input. This model is flexible. It's also trained on Salesforce-specific data. It's developer-centric, and it has superior performance compared to other LLMs. But don't just take our word for it. We actually apply these models in-house. So we have an IDE tool called CodeGen, if any of you guys are familiar with that. Basically, we utilize those models in that IDE tool for our Salesforce developers. We get feedback from them, and that helps powers improvements for Agentforce for developers so that you can get benefited from that. We've actually seen some amazing results from it. 5 million plus lines of generated code has been accepted so far, and that's saved our developers 20,000 plus hours of coding time each month. So we're not just generating code, but we're generating usable, trusted solutions that accelerate innovation. So where are our AI models being utilized now, today, for any new features? Well, as Gordon just touched on, test case generation for Lightning Web Components just went live yesterday at the start of TDX. And XGen Code is the LLM powering it. This functionality basically analyzes your LWC code, understands the component structure and logic, and then intelligently suggests you the most relevant test cases. Our AI model is just part of like a piece of the puzzle. Let's see how it works together through the whole product. So how does it work? The first thing that you do is you're supposed to select your LWC methods or files that you want to generate test cases for. And then a component card is sent to the LLM via the LLM gateway, and a response is generated. Once the response is generated, it goes to a toxicity scan, sensitive information is masked, and from there you get your final response that you could either reject or accept. Now this is showcasing that you can save time and also improve productivity while following test cases best practices. So with that, I'm actually going to pass it over to Gordon, who's going to talk about the roadmap and what else we have coming up.
Thank you, thank you. All right, here's our roadmap. Few things coming. You can see our Spring 25 are all the things that are currently GA or released. In Summer 25, we're largely going to be focused on integration with DevOps Center, which will also include pieces where if you have a project plan with requirements, have code generation around requirement docs. We're going to continue to iterate on our Dev Assistant, allowing you to recall past chats and save chats. User-specified context. This is a really interesting piece where we want to expand how users specify what schema, what metadata, what Apex code, what LWCs they want to kind of be the baseline for how you do development or whenever we're talking to the LLM. We're going to expand our RAG support to LWC, and finally, we want to add LWC generate with local preview, going GA. That's more of a DX-wide effort. I'm not going to go through all the things for Dreamforce. There will be many more things to come, but feel free to take a quick look and set your calendar for Dreamforce. You can scan this QR code. This will take you to the how to get Agentforce for Developers installed and to get started using the tooling.
All right, so thank you so much for coming and joining us. Oh, should we go back for the QR code really quick?
All right, yep.
Yeah, please take your pictures. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll be around if you guys have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.